No, it's all good. I'm just getting myself my face on Zoom. Should pop up there. Yeah, welcome to everybody and also the minutes today. We'll just quickly, have we got apologies? Is everybody actually, is that Alistair on?
See him.
Very right.
Faces.
No, but anyway, we'll actually note that. But just ask for a couple of declarations of interest. I do have one. I've got obviously consents. We have fees and charges in my business, but that's nothing changed to my declarations. John, you'll be the same.
Yeah, I will be the same.
Jeff, you.
Yeah.
And David, you've got a wee change on yours.
Yeah, I've got a change on. I don't think it'll be on the website. I need to do that. But I just wanted to say that I retired on Federated Farmers Executive on 29th of April, and they've had no input into their submission during the first time in council papers. So, yeah.
No, Rick and I, who's
Just to add to that for completeness, I undertake work for the Fishery and Wildlife Habitat Enhancement Trust in Waiau, who have consents, a number of,
Yep.
And I may have to excuse myself at 3 o'clock.
See how we get on. Yeah, we've got a couple. Might have to come on straight away. Work through this. No, that's all good, and we'll probably basically get in. We do have 2 submitters that are presenting today out of the 5 that we have, so we might as well get into it. I see Lloyd hiding out back there. Mr. McCallum, would you like to come up and we'll start the process? You have 10 minutes, really 5 minutes, or up to you. The questions are you know the rules around this table. So we'll just hand it over to you. Right. I'll watch you.
Well, I've got 2 areas to speak, so. Well, first of all, thank you, councillors, for allowing me to come and speak to you today. I want to cover off a couple of matters, but I just want to go through the paper. There's a couple of things there I want to highlight to you. It's what I see and read, and maybe it's not exactly what was intended. My main issue basically is that any rise in rates or fees actually contributes to inflation, and then inflation gets too far out of whack, and then interest rates go up. So I feel as if I've got a double whammy. I'm paying twice. And some of the rate charges that I've seen in the public arena so far, in my view, are way outside of reasonable, considering the history that is with those councils. I've said to you in my submission that you have read, but I think the rate increase should be 0. And I base it around the fact that, as an instance, I pay $633 for a dairy shed inspection for effluent discharge, and I get no value from that at all. It probably takes about, I don't know, an hour, maybe a little bit more. But if you're going to have charges, then I think there needs to be value, and I see that as getting to the point of I'm not getting value for the 2 inspections that's in my consent. You're just ticking boxes and then telling me, in that case, that I hadn't reviewed my effluent management report, which was one error in it when I went through it because my staff member committed suicide, and we had to change managers, but you'd already been told that in another part of your organisation. So I felt as if that, and I'll mention shortly, that there are others out there that are doing the same job as you are, and I'll mention that as well. In your opening principles, you make a number of statements there. But I don't think you've actually done what you said you were doing, because all you've really done is put a 2.5 CPI increase across the board, apart from probably 2 exceptions. If that was done fully, then I would expect to have far more variation in the charges that have been proposed. In 3B, I don't think this is happening with prepay consent applications, software investment, rate increases, information flows and data reporting. Where do you show your efficiencies? Because I don't see them. All I see is increase after increase after increase. In sections 3 and 5.4 and 5.5, well, I understand this is basically cut and paste out of the Act. It reads as if you can charge any cost on anyone at any time that you might want to go in and look at permitted activity, or a person might have convened the RMA, a National Environmental Standard, regulation, or rule, and a plan, or a resource consent. Looks like you can go anywhere, anytime, and do whatever you like. This should this not come out of the general rate? This is a monitoring function of the council. If you continue down this road, why do I have a consent? In your opening principles section, you make statements about how you're going to work. But in this section, what are the limits of your work? What about the other farm industry assessments? Why are you not linked with them? Fonterra, Balance, Ravensdown and others are all working together, bringing all farm information to one place. They cover far more than your requirements. Right down to this type of soap I have in the cow shed and my grass mix, detailed right across staff employment regimes. You could ask them for parts of their report. The question that comes up is, do you do the work, or do you monitor the work and act when needed? In my view, this section should be removed until the policy document that gives direction, and then put cost to that document. No other information was provided with material. It reads quite solid. In table 2, when I read it, it appears as if you can charge 43K for an assessment, and then another 43K as a fixed charge. I'm not sure whether that's at the intent, but that's how it reads in that table. In section 5.8b, what does it mean that you can find a person for operating a tap at a discharge point? Who is the person that you are actually making that comment about? Just jump to it.
Yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes, Lloyd, but we do have a wee bit of space.
So I'm not sure in 5.4b whether it reads as if you intend, because, as I pointed out, in 5.11, the freshwater farm plans, they're still not required. And once again, the government is still to settle on this issue. Most consent holders have provided you with a number of plans and part of their consent applications. Is this section aimed at non-dairy farmers? What do you mean by monitoring compliance by farm operators with their duties? It reads like, from the report, reads like you want reports from everyone, appoint the certifiers, appoint the auditors, monitor their work to your standard and pass rate while charging anything you like along the process. This needs a policy statement to outline for everyone how it will work in real life. Otherwise, remove it or simplify it to what is the basic idea of a farm plan. In table 22, you talk about hot work. I don't know what you mean by hot work. Does it mean air temperature? Does it mean the parts are hot? Or does it mean there's power going through it? I don't know. And to finish with, Mr. Chairman, I send you in reports and water data each year. This year I found 2 errors in my reporting. Both of these have been corrected, but you received these reports for a number of years in their incorrect form, and I'm paying you to receive those reports, monitor those reports and file the reports. And yet, until I made those final changes, no one picked up the error. I did that this year as a part of my end of year supply requirements. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The short version is I think there are policy documents that should be with this, otherwise I can't understand what you're going on. Quite frankly, from my ratepayers' point of view.
Right, thank you. I've got one quick question just in regards to your the jet inspection fees.
Yeah.
And as you know, they're a fixed cost.
Yep.
And you're talking about the air. Do you believe that they should be on a like an actual cost in regards to those versus a fixed cost when you're saying, "Oh, I don't know what I'm getting money."
Well, my consent says I need 2 visits a year. Often one's aerial, so that's a 2-minute flyover for $633. And the other one is people on the ground and they walk around. So they're there for an hour, just over an hour. We used to pay $370. And then it went up and up and up, and now it's $633. But I don't think I'm getting the value. We're getting to the point where that's ceiling. You can't, and I'll push back a number, not just with you, but a number of businesses. You can't charge that much money. You're not giving the value that is needed to the other side. I think you're getting to the point now where, yes, it should be a fixed charge, but I think you're getting to the point where you can't just keep multiplying it up and up and up without some other work that goes with it. If I'm not getting anything out of it, it's just tick the box, get a report, and that's it.
Okay. Eric.
Thank you for your submission. You state that you already get well and truly assessed by Fonterra. Can you comment on the fact that every single aspect of the other inspection that is covered in the Fonterra one, or are there any gaps?
It's a food safety report that's done by Agrisure. So Fonterra might instigate it, but it's done by an independent body. That information is used for international markets, etc. It covers every aspect of our dairy farm practice, including the on-farm stuff and effluent, which is only one section of probably a 2.5-hour chasing emails, software. We've got heaps of stuff we bring together, as some of you know, to actually make that work. Does it miss anything? I don't think so. They do it every year. 4 years is a deep dive, and the other 3 years is a summary look at. My view has always been, even when I was around the council table, that we should be connecting into that. Even if we ask for specific information, from your point of view, you'd ask for specific information to be looked at, maybe with photographic evidence, and send you the report. And my comment earlier on is, do you want to do the work, or do you want to monitor the work that's coming in and then act where you need to? Where's the best value for money?
Okay, thank you for that.
Anybody else? Boris?
Thank you, Lloyd. Did you get the fees and charges recovery model? Did you
No.
see a copy of that?
No, the only thing that I got through this is the 2 documents. One is the summary document up front, and then the other one is the detailed fees and charges. So any other information, any other policies that worked off were not provided.
Well, I guess when we provide you with a written response, we might be able to include that so you can see it.
That's why I think when I look at the document, I don't know what the parameters are. I don't know how I hold you to account. Are you targeting individuals? Are you looking at non-dairy, dairy? What is it you're actually doing? It doesn't actually say here, and information wasn't provided with reference to at any point through that document.
Good. No, if there's no further questions, I think there is. Thanks for coming in, Lloyd. It's good to hear from you. Yes, we're done. So, no, thanks again.
Thank you.
We do have bids Chris there. I know they're due at 2, but they might be happy to. They're happy to come in. Carry on. Got a clock, sorry. in. Yeah, so the next one. Here. Yeah. He could, yeah. Obviously, he's on the Chris, can you hear us? Got us.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, yeah. Is Eleanor, she's still coming, is she? I think. Is that right?
I hope so.
Yeah. No, that's all good. Just running, like, got a bit of time up her sleeve, so I know that you do speak at 2:00, but if wanted to go earlier, but I mean, we realised 2:00's your time, so wait to. Gonna say we can't really do anything until we've heard all the submissions. That's all, if you're wondering. Yeah. But we can't, so sort of be patient. Last word, hopefully we go.
You need to.
Everybody accepts the laws.
I'm happy to start now, Jeremy, if in interest of time.
Okay, yeah, are you happy to start without Eleanor, or is that?
Yeah, I sent her a message, so yep, we can get into it.
Okay, no, that's fine. No, so whenever we're all here, we're all listening, we've read your submissions. Good, good feedback. So happy for you to get on with it if you want, Chris. That's great. Cheers.
Okay, yeah, Chris Dillon, I'm obviously representing Southland Federated Farmers. Yeah, the aim is we work constructively with Environment Southland. We're not opposed to the council recovering these costs. We just want to know that they're fair. And that's what we're asking for, is sort of straightforward. We can understand what's being charged for, and so that farmers feel the system is fair. So that's basically the gist of it here. If we could be transparent on what we're actually paying for on these fees, and when it comes to permitted activity, it's a permitted activity, and if farmers don't feel that they should be paying for something that they're already ratepayers here. Like, if they get a visit, they shouldn't be paying when they're fully compliant. So there's a bit of an issue around how that's worded, how that's been changed. We've obviously outlined in the submission the travel costs, any other business plans their day on where they go, so they're efficient. I don't see that it should be a vehicle rolling out specifically to do one job. Another point there, compliant farmers shouldn't be paying to find out that they are compliant. Like, everyone's really lifted their game in the last decade, and it feels that we're still getting all being tarred as guilty for doing something that is actually not breaking any rules. The farmers are sick of looking over their shoulder all the time. They just want to get on with doing a good job of what they're doing. So when they have to pay to be compliant, that's a bit of a sort of a kick in the teeth. And the last point I wanted to make there is around the aerial monitoring of the winter grazing flights. We understand that MPI is also undertaking this. It'd be great if you could team up and save the ratepayers a bit of money here. I don't seem to think that it should be getting done from two different angles. I'd like to see that people are working together here. And so, as I said at the start, we want to work closely with the council, not against it here. We represent over half the farmers in the province, and that's the feedback we're hearing is, there's not a lot of good things get said about the Environment South and a lot of the time. And it's not until you're in a role like that I am, you see what goes on in the background, but the public perception is not that great. Otago is taking on their winter grazing in a totally different light, being a lot more proactive, recognising the good behaviour and sharing it. It'd be good if a little bit of that flowed into Southland. I'm not sure if Eleanor was on yet and she's got anything else, but welcome to have any questions. Eleanor was actually in the waiting room if she could get let in, please.
Okay. Sort that out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I was just going to make one comment around your comments around the MPI sharing helicopters, and I see staff have come back and said that the offer remains open. The MPI decided to change their approach to that 2 years ago, so we're all for trying to keep those costs down too, but it's sort of MPI's decision rather than ours, by the looks of it. So Feds could always have a talk to MPI. You could, in regards to that, we're keen, we're happy to do it.
Yep, and just to add to that, I've spent a bit of time in the air. You get a completely different perspective on the ground as what you do in the air. So I know it's the quicker way of you to get around, but you have staff across the province all the time anyway, so it doesn't need to be a great costly exercise to the ratepayers.
Eleanor, welcome to this hearing. Chris has given us a bit of a rundown, but you're more than welcome to, if you want to add any points.
Hello, sorry, I was just in the waiting room. Sorry, I didn't realise it had started already. So apologies for that. so I missed the first bit with what you were already talking about. I think, in essence, we were just, after a bit of clarity in terms of, what's in the fees and charges, especially with regards to things like the new permitted activity monitoring, just to sort of understand how that's going to work in practice. We understand, because we know now that council can charge for that. We just want clarity about how it will work. We aren't looking, we know that the reality of how it will work will be quite nuanced. We know that everyone isn't going to get that individual visit, but it's just sort of understanding in practice how that will actually work. We also had quite a few questions about that winter grazing, and I guess, Chris, you might have covered that already in terms of the flyovers and how that will work. Yep, I guess from the council perspective, like, did you have questions for us, given that I missed the first bit?
Yeah, look, Chris covered a fair bit of the stuff, made the main points. We might just go, if you're happy to go into questions. You happy with that, Eleanor? I know the time, we've sort of played around with the time, but so I appreciate that if you've got anything else to say, we're happy to listen too.
Yeah, I think, Chris, I think you would have covered the points that that we had.
Yeah, I tried to cover them off. I may have missed a little bit there, but I think hopefully I've covered them off fine.
Yeah, well, I guess the other thing that we did, one of the other main points was that clarification in terms of where farmers are compliant and they the ability to charge, I guess, for investigating suspected contraventions. So we understand the power exists. So if someone's genuinely breaking the rules, it's reasonable that they bear the costs of dealing with it. But the scenario that we had in mind was that where an enforcement officer forms a view, maybe it's based on a complaint or something, or they've spotted something from the road, or there's that aerial image where they suspect a farmer's breached the rule, they investigate, they visit the property, they spend some time on site, they drive back to the office, and they write it up. But at the end of all that, they find out that, will come to the conclusion that the farmer was actually fully compliant, they didn't do anything wrong, and they were doing exactly what the rules allow. So under the current schedule, it isn't clear that the farmer won't receive an invoice for that process. So effectively, where they haven't done anything wrong. So we're just sort of asking for a bit of a clarification about how, where an investigation like that concludes a finding of full compliance, that cost isn't passed on to the farmer. So just sort of understanding from the council point of view how that will work. So Chris, did you cover that one off?
Not as well as you have.
Yep. The other one was, we had a few questions about the travel cost. So we did point out in the submission that Southland is a big region, and and this point probably covers a lot of the points that we raised. We used the example of, the farmer in Tiana, which is 2 hours drive away. So basically it's 4 hours staff time in a vehicle for that, and that's not including the vehicle cost as well. So that's not including any time that is actually spent on the farm, I should say. So we're just asking if there can be a travel cap for those routine monitoring visits, and a clear policy about where officers perhaps visit multiple farms in one trip. The cost is shared across those visits. So that may well already be happening, but we don't know. So it's just clarification in terms of how that actually works, because it is a big province, and some of the examples, I guess, that we noted from last year in invoicing were individual farm visits versus some, I think, Chris, that you'd noted had been multiple, like it'll be a batched visit or something. And that's just not something that we've had clarity on.
All good.
Yeah, so I apologise. I'm just not sure what you've already sort of covered, so I don't want to go on about something that you've already talked about. And
No,
so-
no, I think, look, we've got it, as I said, we've read through your submissions and we've got a pretty good feel, and we really appreciate it. It's well thought out and informative submission process, and clarified pretty well where you stand and ask the questions and a lot around the transparency of this, which is
Yeah.
if the community, quite a bit of the community is always asking these, around compliance and that. So I'll go on to questions if you're happy. I've got Paul Evans and then Morris Rodway.
Thank you, both of you for submitting. I'm just looking at point 12 and I just wanted some clarification if I could. With regards to the council proposal on 465 initial fixed charge for both certificate of compliance and certificate of existing use. Is that I can understand how they're two totally different things, because a certificate of existing use you would think would be a one-off charge.
Yeah.
And a yearly charge. Is that right?
Well, I think when I was looking at that, I was thinking that Environment Canterbury have separated them out, and there was sort of like that fixed charge for existing use. So maybe one of them is more, I think what I was trying to say is one is more complicated than the other. So just sort of trying to separate it out and just making a bit sort of, well, for everyone, a bit cheaper, maybe. And I think Environment Canterbury was the example that I've found. So.
Well, I can sort of understand that a certificate of compliance will be a regular checkup. Yeah. And a certificate of existing use, once you've got that use in place, it shouldn't change unless the use changes.
Yeah, I can, well, it's a good question. I mean, I can follow back up and check in with some of those other councils in terms of what they were doing. I did have a wee look around the country to see what other ones were doing in terms of that, to see if there were other good examples.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Morris.
Well, you think so, Nora and Chris. I'm looking at point 40 in your submission about the dates of the flights. What's the normal procedure there? Are they advertised in advance, and how widely, and who gets that information?
If I use the Otago Regional Council example there, Otago ORC publish the dates of those flights. They have a meeting with primary sector parties at the start of the season, and they have the specific dates of when those flights will be. It's just quite, it is quite useful. They have also, we've got other councils that have invite primary sector parties on the flights as well. It can be a very useful thing. We note with ORC have found with those flights and their education first approach, they have said at our meeting, which was just last week on this season, that they'd found that approach, they'd seen a whole lot of very good practice change on farm. So this year they're actually having one flight and they are looking at the positive things that have happened on farm. So it has been a really good example of where it has actually worked well, and having those flights scheduled and then the dates seem to have been sort of helped map that. Have you had any thoughts on that one, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's great what they're doing there, and it would be great if you were to come out with the dates as well. There's a perception in the public that whenever we get a storm comes through, they go, oh, they'll be flying tomorrow, and that shouldn't be the way it is. Not that there should be anything to hide either, but that's just the perception from what you get from the farmers on the ground.
Yeah, the ECAN flights have also got, I think they've got someone from the primary sector on board as well, which is quite useful as well, because then it's sort of like everyone's on the same flight and looking at the same things and seeing issues if there are, and it's just a good connection. But I guess from one thing that we had raised in the submission was the fact that there are 5 flights, so 2 with the council and then 3 with MPI, and I guess that was one of the questions we had about in terms of that cross-pollination of data or connection between MPI and what the council was doing. I mean, that may well already be happening. It was just sort of clarification to understand if that was the case, and I guess giving some examples, like we've I have just mentioned about what other councils are doing.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Good. So any other questions? Those points we'll be discussing in the next, once we've finished here, so we can clarify some of that too. No other questions? No, we're all quiet. No, look, thanks Chris and Eleanor for coming in. Great submission. Always happy to work with feds. And we'll be taking that on board and we'll process this through next. So thanks again.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, thank you for your time.
We'll working through the recommendations to see where we're at. Get the move for the 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, to receive the information, no proposed schedule. It's undergone consultation, and the submissions were received. You receive and consider the written oral submissions on fees and charges. I suppose that's what we're doing. Second it, John, all in favour, say aye. Yes, carried. So we'll go through. We'll work through these. Yes, Paul, you're away. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
List online.
Okay. Good. So we work through these. These things to go through next. How do you want to? I think you want to run with this.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you take over.
Okay.
Let's try.
All right.
One person do it.
Excellent. So, just heading through, we've started with the most fulsome submission first, which was the one prepared and submitted by the Federal Farmers. And so they had asked about publishing a methodology by which staff hourly rates are calculated, so that there is clarity and transparency essentially for that calculation. There's a response there that also is based on the workshop that council has held about that. Patrick was going to join online if you had any further questions about that, but we had attached the fees and charges recovery model, which was explained at that previous workshop, as a separate document for you. We do note that whilst the model itself is simplistic in some areas, it does demonstrate that we are comparable with other councils at our current setting, in that direct staff costs plus 13% net organisational overhead is comparable as well, but there is that detailed breakdown as per the request of the submitter.
Do you want a point of clarification, Harvey, around the 13% and how that number was arrived at? Just saying, because, you know, it comes up with a number that reflects the schedule that makes it all fit together. But was there a process of prioritisation that went on? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yes, I'll refer that question to Patrick, as he is our DM corporate. He was online, so he is.
Yep.
Patrick, that's that question.
Sure. So, so the model was built to have a bit of science behind what we are charging for, and the 13%, David, reflects what we currently charge. So, so at 13% recovery of our overheads plus the direct salary cost, that ties back to the hourly charge. So it was benchmarked. Essentially, the model benchmarked it to say at 13% of our overhead being recovered, that would match to what we currently charge. That was how I constructed it. So there are, you could apply different settings. So at different settings, if we recovered more overhead, the hourly charge would go up, and clearly if we recovered less overhead, the hourly charge would go down. But the 13% reflected what our current charges look like.
They requested that the council set a policy for how competing expert costs are managed, and we acknowledge that we do not have a formal policy that governs this particular process. Section 35 7B of the RMA does enable, of course, we note objections to the charges in relation to the imposition of additional charges for the recovery of cost. But as a principle, we operate on the basis of user pays in this area, and the costs generated from experts for a particular process are therefore borne by the party benefiting from the experts rather than general ratepayers. Moving on to the point that they have requested around certificates of existing use, and as also noted in their verbal submission, they sought to reduce it because of ensuring that farmers are not financially penalised for securing legal grandfathering status of their existing farm and long-standing, often farming activities. These charges have been set as per our answer to question 1, which was the first one around the hourly rates. And for looking at the differences in the assessment required for both the certificates of existing use and the certificates of compliance. So we note that it's an initial fixed charge, which means that it acts a bit like a deposit, and we are able to charge more. I, whilst myself personally have not ever done a certificate of existing use, their more fulsome comment did also talk about certificates of compliance, and they're not necessarily always as straightforward as you would like to think they are, unfortunately. Now, if we don't use the funds on either of those two processes, absolutely they get credited back to the customer. Moving on, intensive winter grazing and agricultural discharges. So they requested whether, if intensive winter grazing is going to be captured via aerial flyovers, does an annual compliance check need to also include a physical site visit? So we do have two types of flights that we undertake. There's ones that look at more general plan compliance, and those are the ones that do by far in the main pick up intensive winter grazing issues for follow-up. In future, they'll also be picking up our bylaw monitoring, for example, picking up baleage improperly stored in the floodway, for example. It is typically things that can be observed from the air. We also do undertake aerial inspections for consent compliance as well, so those of you who are doing that will be familiar with that. We note that for consent compliance, the same inspections fee applies whether it's undertaken by an aerial inspection or the on-site, on-farm visit. Now, we do actually prefer to do on-farm visits as we feel that offers better customer service, but it is also enables us to have a two-way conversation, offer bespoke advice to the specific farmer, and also provide additional support to consent holders or refer them to industry groups or other parts of Environment Southland for further support, such as our land sustainability team or our freshwater farming plan team.
I'll just make a suggestion. We've read the.
Okay.
I mean, there's plenty of.
Yeah. So
But
maybe
I mean, we'll go through, like we know,
questions.
there'll be some more than others, but sorry.
Well, I just, are you going to take questions as you go?
Yeah.
In that winter grazing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess the question would be, I've had some feedback and there was someone had a flyover and then they had an inspection within a couple of weeks and they both incurred a fee, and yet there was nothing to find. And so I wonder about the spreading of that, because that's the sort of thing that, shall I say, tarnishes the brand, because it looks like it's more about the invoice than it is about the inspection, given you had twice in just a few weeks. So.
Whilst I can't speak to that specific
example,
I
understand.
We do, and I was going to cover it later, we do publish the dates of the flights, although not with the same advance notice that perhaps Otago do, and that's primarily around weather. And so it might be that someone might have been picked up for one of those more general compliance, plan compliance flights, and that may just be coincidentally then with their inspection for consent compliance, for example. So it is difficult to align those so that there is across all of the properties that we are looking at, both on the ground and recognising that we don't just obviously undertake on the ground monitoring with farmers, we do a wide range of industries as well, to ensure that everybody has an appropriate distance of time so they don't feel like you just saw me 2 days ago from the air and now you're here. So they may happen for different reasons as well. So it is a challenging thing to manage, but I do appreciate your point in terms of smarter thinking around scheduling.
Yeah. I guess my point would be that surely when you're putting the schedule together, you might be able to quickly look and see where they last had an invoice that was related to some sort of a visit, so that it didn't, just to keep polishing the brand business.
Yeah, and to the submitter, Mr. McCullum's point around the person being monitored, feeling and understanding and knowing the value for the
That's right.
Yeah, that was a very well made point by Mr. McCullum.
Well, just about, I think Eleanor suggested that in Otago, I think they have other people on the place as well from the industry. Is that what it is? Would that be useful or not?
So particularly we have historically done other, other regulators, MPI being the example, and we will do that. I think that would be quite, I wanting to, call into question the decisions that Otago have made.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important that there is, and again, I don't want to, please don't misconstrue this around the industry, but it's important for us to also have, I guess, a singular purpose in there, so that anyone who's saying, well, I challenge the impartiality that occurred on that flight, for example. If we have just regulators on that flight, then you can say hand on heart. Now, that's not to say that we wouldn't want to collaborate with the industry for a wide range of purposes, and we absolutely do that.
I understand that, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Yes, just following on from Morris's point, I believe that Jason Herrick has been on at least one of the flights in the past. So I think that was really appreciated too. And look, it can only build goodwill if we do have other industry people on board there.
I've just been informed that Donna, who's watching this online, has said that we have actually made the offer to industry groups in previous years, but that offer was declined as they didn't want to be up with the regulator undertaking the regulatory function. So my point around other purpose flights, particularly around spotting great practice, around collaborating to identify issues that could be a collective work on, and then that absolutely I think would be something that I suspect the industry would be very keen for us to collaborate with them.
But you would be open to having someone there for compliance flight?
I'm following Donna's email, I believe so.
Thank you.
In regards to that, obviously around the MPI discussion, the door's always open.
The door is absolutely open.
They are regulated, they're a different aspect. They can't go any lower than we do, there's rules. I take it.
Yes.
In regards to seeing what they see and what we see. We're all happy with that.
Yeah.
Just in regards to obviously the number 5, I was just going to, we've explained that pretty well, that we do have it. It's not,
yes, absolutely.
they don't get charged the actual mileage. It's actually split over. Obviously, very returning questions in regards to that.
Staff responses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is already the case.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I'm happy to have a look at what is worded. I think the point that they're asking there is, which was clarified, is that the fees and charges, it's quite helpful for those who are looking at it to know that intersection between our fees and charges schedule and policy, and then how it's actually applied, so that we like the compliance policy as well. So certainly staff can look into perhaps a one-liner to provide the clarity that the submitter is seeking there. But as the explanation says, if there is no breach or non-compliance, we don't pass costs on to the customer. They are absorbed by the general ratepayer funding, which is very nice of me.
We'll move on. Number
Oh.
six. Yeah, sorry, John.
So I guess that probably just raises more, is that a procedural thing we need to look at to get it to bring clarification to that, where there's no abatement notice given, but there's a cost recovery? Is it more the policy that needs to be reviewed so there's absolute clarity? So, because if there's no abatement notice given, the message is there's nothing to see there.
No, so our compliance policy currently does state all of that. So if there is no breach of either a consent or the plan, then there's no cost recovery undertaken. It also sets out the circumstances under which a cost recovery might be applied. So, and as you know, that policy is under review, and we will be coming to you with a workshop and a process around reviewing and updating that policy.
Point of clarification on that then, it could be that there was something minor that happened, that there was no prosecution, no further action, but costs. But because there was something as opposed to being fully compliant, that's when you got your.
No, I mean, that is in the compliance policy kind of area, not in this one, but speaking to that, where a breach has occurred, there was no environmental harm or no, it's the first time, and we applied an education first response, then no cost recovery would happen. So unfortunately, it's our system currently doesn't allow for that. So we've got a workaround at this current time, which will provide a separate letter which provides that breakdown.
You're already doing that.
Yeah, no, we're already doing that.
You're already doing it. Have any questions in regards to that? Carries on. Obviously, just questions about clarity. Just people want clarity and transparency in how it. So we cover that.
So Chairman, where are we up to? Have we done 6 and 7?
Yes. Yeah, we're doing 6 and then we've got 7, just in regards to the system's declaring that we don't have the ability, but they do put a cover letter explaining the costs and bits and pieces which goes over the page. That's what I was saying, just providing clarity. Right there. Consistent with good administration.
Yes, so we provide that to detail.
So that's in regards to that same
question.
Right. Move on, number 9, around freshwater farm plans.
Yeah, so we've done quite a bit of work in terms of what we see those costs to actually be, and so what activities we do, and therefore how much time they take and what the costs are. Now, we acknowledge that this is a new piece of work for us, so we have had to estimate based on looking at similar other work programs, and we will be reviewing that as we move through into more maturity. So with more farm plans, we'll have more data as to what the as to the activities and the costs of those, and so we would have a better, more in-depth, rigorous recommendation to yourselves for the next time that this schedule is reviewed and adopted.
Work in progress.
Yes, so it just talks through then the additional requirements outside the regulations, what we do, however, they don't result in any extra charges as a result of Appendix N. The nature of the charge and the activities that sit within it mean that that's just part of that charge. There's no extra and over for our customers because of Appendix N.
Any questions around that? Number 11.
Yes, science.
Science research management charges.
That was
Just quickly,
staff commentaries
pretty good.
sufficient.
Regards explains that. Anybody got questions? No. Right, move on to 12.
So at this time, as far as we're aware, there's no data that is collected by catchment groups that is used in regional data sets. That's not to say it won't happen in future, particularly as our catchment groups, mature and, grow in their awesome work that they do.
Keen on that.
Yeah, and indeed, actually, that kind of, grassroots type work, there is definitely a place for that. The government envisages in the new planning system, which is great to see. Not yet, though.
Any questions around that? You good? Right, move on for financial fairness.
Yes.
This is $46 one.
Yes.
Is it like the reality is, I suppose, I've got a question. I mean, it's every dollar counts, and I know there's a cost, but it's actually the principle of saying. I've always felt uncomfortable. I don't care what, if someone else's money, it should be refunded. I know there's a cost to it, but it's still important. Sorry.
Chairman, are you suggesting that it goes back to them immediately, not be credited to their account? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, well, I suppose that is, it's credit. Yeah, how it's done. Because at one stage we weren't even going to credit it. Really.
Oh, no, credit it.
Oh, sure. I thought I was too small to.
What were you? Oh, no, we credit it.
Maybe just keep my comments to myself then.
So you're not suggesting that?
Well, I'm just saying, like, the reality is I don't like holding on to
No,
some of the money that's not yours, but don't care how small it is. It's a principle of saying if it's so, refund them personally. I don't know how everybody feels about
Would
that.
an alternate, but I mean, a key overriding thing here is efficiency.
I know.
And that's a principle as well as don't hold other people's money. That also is a principle that this particular submitter has been very strong on. We want really efficient practices, as well as transparent practices. So I would have thought, that that's what we're trying to achieve here is balancing fairness and efficiency.
Yeah.
Because you could say we're going to stick to this principle and give you money back. Oh, you got a $1.50 credit, and it costs us more in time and staff effort to manage that transaction.
Well, not the person's fault for that, like that. I'm
Yeah.
and there's a principle of the other thing that's saying that you've got my money, no matter how small. I don't know. Yeah.
Cost benefit analysis of that repayment might be interesting to Councillor Morrison's point. It might cost us $55 to refund the $46.
We should have systems that shouldn't cost $55 to
Well,
refund.
you know what I mean.
Give me a bank account and I can transfer money.
You would assume.
I can do it in 30 seconds if I need to. So I'm just, we seem to be.
Assume that there's actually quite a staff cost either way.
Correct.
Whether it's actually administering it as a credit or as a refund. Potentially, hopefully, the new financial system that we're looking to implement may actually improve those decisions.
Yes,
Yep.
FMIS or whatever the new financial system is, it will be a key driver of efficiency. And I'm hoping that, our new financial system will also overcome that invoicing challenge that was picked up earlier in the discussion around the quite simple invoices that we issue at the moment, and then having to have a workaround, which does actually take our amazing resource management administrators team extra work to do. It's important to do it for transparency and value, but being able to automate that in a way that meets our customers' needs is critical in my view.
What happens to small underpayments?
I think it's the same, a small underpayment. Is that correct, Jodie? Yes, that is correct.
We keep them as a debt for the future.
Yes.
I don't have any of those.
Transposed by digits on my
funds, do you know?
Which is how I can
Everybody
find out.
know
refunds.
How many refunds we actually do send in? Tens, hundreds, thousands?
Everyone would have.
I don't know. Just
Yeah,
ask.
for that.
I'd be up for it.
Just for debtors alone, not including our rates customers, is about half a dozen a week.
Yeah, it's a 12% penalty anyway, so.
So everybody's happy to just carry on with that?
Yep.
I'll just make my point and not. So everybody happy? Yeah, we'll carry on.
So the next one is planning for regulatory transition. So yes, absolutely. Once the legislation changes, we would comply with it. We have noted in a number of the points the very kind offer by the Federated Farmers to work with us on the design of the new system, and that's absolutely something we'll be taking them up on, along with a wide range of interest and advocacy groups as well. So thank you. And so then that just indicates that, just to ensure that as we design the system, we're getting input and feedback to make sure that it's both well designed and well implemented, and that absolutely includes that it's easy to use and easy to understand.
Happy to be here. I look at this. 16.
And again, it's a very similar answer. We may have different things that we may or may not charge or cost to cover for.
Can I just raise a point on that one? As we respond in writing to submitters, don't we?
Yes.
Given that there's probably a limit to what we can commit to, because we may not be a thing. And so that should make it apparent that, well, we could promise the world, and then because we don't exist as an entity, I'm just pointing that out. We've got to be quite clever in how we word that. Manage expectations accordingly.
Thank you.
Surely that's something we pass forward though.
We can suggest it, we can advise it,
Yeah,
we can recommend it, but it's up to a new organisation potentially whether they.
I mean, if I'm happy on behalf of staff, Environment Southland, committing to that, because if we transition to a new entity or entities, then that the entity called Environment Southland will no longer exist.
Yeah.
Just perhaps
This is
without wanting to put words in Councillor Morrison's mouth, just we need to be mindful how we word our individual responses to the council.
Yes. Point taken, Councillor Morrison. Thank you.
we might not be a thing.
Just checking I understand.
Thing somewhere hopefully.
Environmental department, something.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on to 17.
Yeah, so this is, as I mentioned before, we absolutely are working through the national reform process with an eye out to ensure that any transitional changes don't result in being charged twice for services as local government is reformed. And we totally note their concerns around duplication and conflicts during a future transition, and that we would be working with our customers and groups that they are part of that represent their interests to ensure that we and them, that there's a two-way conversation about identifying those before they arise to make sure that we're working through them appropriately. But at this stage, we don't know enough about what a transition might look like. So our response really is that we absolutely intend to keep an eye for that.
Move on to growth to David. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess my point would be with MPI, and I think you have mentioned this before, I just want to make sure it's still happening, that is ES going to do the wintering and they're doing the animal welfare? Is that just that you're not doubling up on the same thing?
That is correct.
And that needs to be something that is nailed down, because that's where you really lose farmers, when you're coming at them from two directions on the one subject. So.
Yes, I mean, I'd say that we only regulate what we're regulated for. likewise with them. What we we would like to do, and what we have done historically, and the invitation is still there, is I guess the method for us each undertaking our separate and distinct regulations, doing that in a coordinated way to reduce costs for both our regulated parties and their regulated parties. Yeah, so we're not regulating their stuff, they're not regulating ours, and we are always looking for cost efficiencies, given that our regulated party is often the same individual or business.
What David might be picking up on is sometimes in the past it's been bounced back and forwards as I've come across issues, rather than that teamed up approach. Two different sets of eyes in the same day makes all the difference, and that's been going on for a number of years, trying to work with the MPI. So I will support staff in how much they have worked on this front, and it's certainly us reaching out to them. So.
Yeah, and we have I know we have a winter advisory group which they sit on, and that's a really great forum where we do identify opportunities for collaboration where it makes sense for our customers and for our own functions, both with in terms of reducing the regulatory burden on our joint customers, as well as, you know, costs back here too.
I think what you're getting to, John, is around a wintering issue that is actually turned into an animal welfare issue.
And then sometimes they view it as, no, that's not an animal welfare, it's just the environment. And it can go backwards and forwards.
Yeah, okay.
But sometimes you might have an animal welfare issue and not an environmental compliance issue.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes a mental issue, mental welfare.
Yeah. Yeah, we're starting to read like but like, we need to work well with the MPI, and I know we are trying to work well. I think we covered it there. We'll move on to the permitted activity monitoring, so around the charges.
So this is going to be a core, as they noted, this is going to be a core part of the new system, permitted activity monitoring. We don't yet know what the exact shape of that requirement is from the legislation. And so under the new planning system, we absolutely intend to work with our customers and their representative groups to ensure that the system's well designed, and then the follow through well implemented is really important. So includes it being easy to understand, easy to use, transparent and clear. We're essentially getting ready for that world with this fees and charges, because there may be transition arrangements in the new legislation, which we're anticipating to have royal assent in September this year, that might see things happen in this space. I don't know. And under the purview of this year's fees and charges schedule. So this is us at least getting one part of the equation set up, but the really meaningful stuff, which is stuff we'll be doing, working with our customers and others and stakeholders, is to come.
Yeah, I guess the clarity there that we probably need to have around is less consents. Our position of monitoring the environment, our liabilities hasn't changed. So unless you want to see rates go up to the general rate payer, this is required. Because consents aren't covering the cost.
Right.
Just layman's terms, everyone that gets it.
Anyway, you're all happy with that? Sweet. I got a 19 around data. Any questions around that? I think there's me covered it there.
Yeah.
Any questions? No. This is 20. Any questions in regards to that?
Or straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yep. Respond to that, yes.
Well, the one thing I would say though is that the environmental risk matrix is kind of a core component of what you will be doing in the long-term plan. So there's an intersection here with the fees and charges schedule, the long-term plan in terms of the priorities you set in the work programs you invest in, but that's underpinned by science as the evidential basis, but the environmental risk model there is quite a kind of key component. So that's an an opportunity for direction from you that will speak to the point raised by the submitter around that connection between low risk activities, high risk activities, frequencies of inspection, and therefore flowing through into cost or not. Sorry, I think that makes sense.
Questions? All good. 21.
Yeah.
Permitted activities, regards. Fence clarifies that.
So we just don't have a proactive monitoring program
For
at
permitted,
this time.
no.
We're just getting ready for that, and we will work with the regulated parties when we do know what we are.
Because you are checking permitted activities if
do.
you're out there.
Yes.
When you're doing other.
Yeah, but there's no additional cost.
No additional costs, so makes sense, it's good. And 22. You're way.
I'm gonna go.
Yep. All good.
I hope they get me out.
All good. Right.
We do too.
Yeah. I think depends where it's going.
It's around transparency. That reasonably well.
Yeah, definitely beyond our discussion.
So no questions on that. We'll move on to 23. Thing we talked about the flyovers. We do, just to clarify, we do put it in the paper. We do advertise them.
Yeah,
We have
we don't have the same long lead time that Otago do, but that's because it's weather, health and safety. So as soon as it's confirmed, which can be, quite close to the date of the day before, we do publicise those dates.
That could result in going for a flight after a storm. If the storm is what prevents the flight
It
going
could
on the
do,
scheduled
yes.
day.
Yes.
The next available day could be after a storm has occurred.
Obviously, might be the storm damage rather than the other things.
But we do state it, we're not doing anything, so it's very clear. So it's all.
Just to clarify, perhaps, Hayley, you did cost share when you did use to fly together.
Yes. Yes.
That could be
Cheaper for our customers, cheaper for their customers.
absolutely. So, it would be nice indeed that return.
We think so.
Yeah.
As staff.
Look, the reality is they're looking at the same paddocks.
Yeah.
With animal welfare.
There's room for three.
And that time of the year, they're all the same thing.
There's room for three
basically,
people on that flight.
So hopefully feds will have that discussion to encourage working together. Go to 24. Yes, it'll be council around the efficiencies.
Yes.
Talked about that.
Yes, yes. I mean, they do will send us their photographs that they take rather than aerial data and digital infrastructure. So they send that through to us. So it does actually really happen to some extent.
Number 25, we've got flight details already on there. This again around flying. Everybody, sorry, I'm not looking up, but anybody got any questions there?
What is the lead time for when we publish generally? Do we provide a week's notice? Do we provide a month's notice?
It can be as close as the day before
Generally, not like we do give notice.
for a flight. Yeah.
Is it standard?
Well, the reality is nothing's going to change, like fly there any time. There's things with what farmers are going to get first if he changes.
Sorry, I need to correct myself. Donna's just emailed me. I had thought there was cost sharing. There was not. We covered all of the costs.
Oh, goodness.
There you go.
MPI.
Apologies, Donna.
Talk to MPI.
Running. Merry Christmas.
Us taxpayers will pay, I presume.
So we'll move through 26. Breaches. You've explained yourself very well there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yell out if you've got any questions as we move. Right, so that's the end of feds. Yes.
Can I just add, the one thing here that we sort of breezed over is the farm clean thing and about taking a step in the dark. So just around the process of how they're
Character
gonna.
visit as a stab in the dark, councillor Rose.
But the process, well, given that you could end up 3,000, so, you know, just saying it's a lot at some stage, how will that be reviewed? Do we have to wait till another year to go through this process? Or have we got a process that when you see that it's, you know, there's far more coming in than you envisaged, that you could review it quickly?
Yeah, look, you know, I think that as the momentum starts to increase, there will be a certain threshold at which we go, right, we've got enough data to run an analysis of the activities, the time, and how right we were doing. I don't know what that threshold would be. Is it 150? Is it 500? I would have thought, you know, having run 100, you'd have a good idea of and a good reasonable data set, acknowledging that it is very dependent on where then the actual regulations land as to how many we end up. So I would doubt, given the signals that the government is giving us, that we will have over 3,000. I would anticipate they're looking, because they're looking at environmental risk, they're looking at size as a threshold, as we all know. So that will bring that number down substantially. But I would anticipate after about 100, we should have a good number. Donna will have a view, as it's her team that are primarily undertaking those tasks.
The review could happen at any time.
Because, yeah, I think it's a number. We'd want to get a good data set first, rather than after 5 months or after 2 months, 6 months or something like that.
Well, okay, we'll move on to Julie Bridgman's around the white bait stand charges. You've explained yourself with help of the fact, not you. Any questions in regards to the white bait stand? Happy? Take a note of their submission, so.
Should I have to ask if, John did mention the figure before, it's about 320 or 350 or something.
For a white bait stand?
Yes.
Yeah,
That was just a number I recall.
No, pass.
Don't quite know.
No, I'm
sorry.
Asking for clarity on.
It'll be in the fees and charges schedule.
Yeah, someone help ping one through. Anyway, we'll carry on. Got that.
315
315.
occupation coast marine area by an existing white bait stand. Which is
Can I ask,
So it's a
what about
content for all
ones-
year round.
What about ones in Hunt's Bay? Do they get charged the same? You have that here.
Yep, I believe so.
Still the same.
Yep.
Should we use a pay, so they should pay more?
I-
Cost more to get there.
For us to.
No, but I think we apply the same travel principle that we do in the other inspections, which is look at the number of inspections, the amount of time and staff it takes to do them, and then divide it up, and that's the travel component of that fixed fee.
Yeah, it's the same as.
Yeah, otherwise it's then, like in the case of the farm one, we would end up with farmers who are closer to here subsidising the farmers that were further out, which wouldn't be fair.
I think probably an overall discussion around averaging things out.
Yeah.
Which doesn't necessarily around compliance, all these issues, but anyway. Good point. Lynn Hunt. Yeah, you see living in Clyde, or own section of Clyde, but I think you've indicated there. Quite okay, no questions.
Not comparing apples with apples.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And noting, of course, that that's the current position rating
We're working on it.
increase.
Yes, move on to the next one, Marcel Van Roon. I think you've answered the reply to that reasonably well. Is that all good? Any questions? And we got Lloyd McCullum.
Right, so on that, we have offered historically, asked Fonterra and other milk processors if they wouldn't mind sharing the data that they collect in the interests of efficiency, and so absolutely to the submitter's point. However, they declined to share that because of privacy concerns. Additionally, they do look at slightly different things and not to the level of detail that we are required to look into.
Under the new farm environment plans, those plans supposed to be ultimately integrated with all that industry. I would have thought that going forward, that is an absolutely essential part of it.
If I read it right, Mr. Hogarth's indicated that the industry plans will have everything covered. Now I'll stand up and be corrected to I'll believe it when I see it. So, but it is a point that, I mean, the principle of what Lloyd's saying is actually makes sense. That one, that's what we always wanted. You might have a farm plan, but your environmental issues are in one chapter of that. And that's what we want to grab and have a look to see. Sorry,
Take a module out of it.
yeah, it's all about modules, different parts of John and Phil.
Being we're the regulator, I would have thought we'd do that bit and feed it into Fonterra's bit, because it's a bit like having a school bus flag, school road crossing flag person doing traffic control for a policeman. Sorry, it's just we're the regulator and it's the buck stops with us. And we are getting emails about spills into waterways quite regularly, a number in the last 2 weeks, which is very frustrating to see. So I don't think we should be entertaining any discussion around a marketer doing our regulation work.
Yeah,
It's about us being able to audit whatever is.
My contribution on that topic was just to emphasise that we have to be subject to legislation which enables data sharing between organisations and accounting for exactly that very issue of who is the lead agency, who's responsible for verifying and then sharing to other agencies or organisations or corporate entities the information, because there is data privacy issues that would have to be resolved by regulation rather than by choice.
The other point that Donna raises, to your point, that there was also a perception issue that they were concerned about last time that this was discussed in terms of sharing that information with a regulator. So they've got a trusted relationship, obviously, with their milk suppliers, and you know, that's their right to prioritise that and make decisions about what they do with their data, separate from also Privacy Act requirements.
David.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow up on Lloyd's point about the fee twice a year, and that reckon it couldn't be justified. Given what you're going to do with farm plans, have a look at it and work through it. Have you actually done that for dairy shed inspections? I know there is an undertaking you have to a year, but I'm just saying, have we actually sat down, prioritised the costs, worked it out and came up with that, rather than just the 11% overheads, whatever? So have you actually done that exercise for?
In terms of the analysis of the build-up, I guess, of cost that goes into the monitoring fee? Yes, Donna has done that, and I feel like it might have been before you were on council. We did quite a deep dive into that build-up as part of last year's fees and charges schedule, which actually looked at what we do is they go back and they look at the actuals over a number of years, because obviously, you know, a wet spring can influence heavily the amount of work that goes on by us. And so to actually look back and see what those actuals are, and that's the data that then goes into that fixed fee.
So I guess what I'm asking for is for transparency, it would be good to send Lloyd that and have it so that, because that would be a reasonably frequent assumption that it's made up.
Look at doing an anonymised version of that he can.
Because you've got a scale, you can.
Yep.
But also, actually, it would be worth noting the Top Dairy Performers program as well. Just, it would be remiss of me not to highlight that in a public forum as a great way of reducing regulatory burden.
Just a procedural matter, Mr. Chairman. Lloyd brought up quite a few other things that weren't in his written submission. Do we need to address those things? I guess there'll be a record of it in the audio.
Yes, and I actually took some notes. So he asked, there were some points that he had raised around why don't we liaise with farming industries and ask them for their report. So we've covered off that point. He asked about the 2.5% CPI increase and its application across the board. And he put online that he'd be able to provide information about that. He also asked about the value for the 2 inspections and questioned whether we're ticking boxes. No, we're not. I didn't get all of it, but we will review the
That's all.
the video to make sure that our response to him is fulsome and he feels that he was heard and his points considered.
Thank you.
Jeff, did you have?
Yes. Look, sorry, just going back to farm plans for a moment. And talking about data sharing, the one issue that farmers have had in the last few years, if they're certified, is that they could be able to be OIA'd. Now, if that's the case, that data would be available to anyone that did want to investigate under that provision. So what's your view on that?
Well, at the moment, we don't receive the full farm plan. We only receive the action plan. So yeah, you're correct. So for example, every consent that you apply for and you get granted or declined is on the public record. So, you know, that I think may have influenced views that some organisations take with respect to what information of a farm plan a regulator receives.
But if they're certified, my understanding was that they could be available to the public then.
The certified sits with the certifier. That's not us. I don't know. I'd have to come back to answer that question. Sorry.
If you could do that, that would be.
I might need to get some
Thank you.
lawyer to answer the question for me if nobody internally knows the answer to that. It's a good one.
My apologies.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, well, it is very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, that some of the things that the government is looking at with regards to the certification and auditing is to widen out who can do that as well. I believe Minister Gillard has spoken about that as well.
Yeah, just in regards, I'll just make comment in regards to the inspections at Lloyd. There's obviously a discussion around this is a fixed fee, fixed cost, everything's averaged out. And that's probably some people that you go, well, it's weird. If you live next door to where your regulator is, it should be cheaper to monitor, you know, and we got such a, you know, with travel, you're averaging out. There's probably a feeling that's where I asked the question again, well, could there be an actual cost? Some will be actually more. If you've got a problem, it takes more. If you don't prepare well for it, there'll be more. It's up to you to make the compliance sweet. You know, it could go sometimes only half an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, and they go, hey, everything's good here. Have a nice day. We'll get down to the next farm and it's going to take 2 hours because some things haven't been presented well. And probably most in the community would say, fair enough, charge me. You know, they may pick the game up a bit if they know they're getting benefits by being more efficient with the compliance team. So that's probably the sort of the overall discussion. It's a bit like all these discussions about this, just a fixed fee. And sometimes it's a bit challenging for people to say, well, I don't seem to spend much time with me, but you're probably spending more time with someone else's, but I'm paying, I'm subsidising that. So in any charges, that's just a broad discussion. Is that right or is that not? Or I know it's simple from an accountancy side of efficiency. It's not, doesn't make sense sometimes.
The situation I think we'd want to be careful not to get into is where staff attend to these activities and are thinking in the back of their mind, oh, it's truth. I may have been here too long. I need to cut this short, or I need to spin this out, make it longer to you, because you don't want staff making what am I saying? Don't want staff adjusting their behaviour based on what they perceive are cost outcomes for either the organisation or the stakeholder. I would have thought you want them being thorough and diligent and according to a set of prescribed needs for an inspection activity.
It's not, we're not saying that.
No, I'm just thinking.
So I'm just saying, if the staff's still going, oh, I've spent 2 hours, I've driven X amount of Ks to that, and then sharing, travelling and things like that, it'd be easy enough to get software and, to do this sort of stuff. But in today's technology, but the staff do their job, they just log in the hours.
Yeah.
It's not up to them whether they're making it, they've still got to do their job, and if they do it efficiently and it's nice and tidy, sweet, there's only less hours. If it takes more, I've got to come back and see you next week, going to cost more.
The view you do hear out there is a constant niggle. They were only here for 5 minutes and yet we got the bill. And that was just a walk in, walk out, send the bill. And that's with the niggle, which is what Jeremy's talking about, because it was simple and straightforward. You still got the same bill as someone that wasn't. So the message, I know, again, it's about polishing the brand here.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the point of this hearing. If you want to make different decisions to what the proposal is, that's absolutely your job. And so if you want to see a greater emphasis on initial fixed fee, which is the one where that's the start, and then, we refund you the money or, charge you some more, or fixed fee, that's the price, no matter how long or short it takes the staff, or time and materials, to use other words from another life in terms of actual charges. Hourly rate is this, travel rate is that. Then that is absolutely your purview to give us that instruction,
and the other
thing, what we will do.
You consider a graduated fee could potentially encourage some better behaviours, right, around being ready for that compliance visit, having information available.
Having a both of the carrot.
I
get your point about technology. As technology advances, that offers us opportunity. But we would want to make sure the technology is reliable and cost effective. The really broad thing is you can continue to increase transparency at a cost, unless there's a technology shift that allows you to do it differently. So people ask, well, I want more transparency. I go, sure, but there could be an associated cost which pushes rates up again as a result of here's all your transparency you want, but it's with pay, someone has to pay for that.
I suppose it compounds even some of the things, when the helicopters fly over and they spend a few minutes just look where you're at your pond. Basically, that's all you're doing on dairy farms. I'm saying this as a dairy farm, got a high conflict of interest, I'm just telling you information. So I'm not going to make a change to things, but it's actually, and I've timed them, 3 to 4 minutes off to the next farm. I still get a $700 bill. So you must be very efficient, and you're not seeing that reflected on. I know helicopters aren't cheap, but I know that they'll cover themselves pretty well and what they can do in the air. So, but stuff we can probably be looking at.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you can look at it now. If you want to have a differentiated fee for an aerial inspection versus an on-foot inspection, if you didn't want to have any fees or charges for some of the activities in that schedule and you made a decision to have that paid out of general rates, then you can do that too.
Have we covered all Lloyd's?
But to make sure that I presented you with all the options.
I'm already subsidising some people. I don't
Can I just say, so Lloyd, we've sort of covered Lloyd's. You had written it down there.
Yes, I've written down some of the
discussion on
We'll
that.
go back and review the record to make sure that we can.
That's all then. Appreciate all the submitters. Thank you to go through and discuss there. We've done the responses, deliberate. Regards submissions, we need so we're looking at the recommendations.
4, 5.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6. Apart from the dressed changes or anything where I'm not asking, I'm just saying everybody's comfortable with what recommendations are.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just ask one thing? From Lloyd's presentation, the idea 2 dairy shed inspections, but no value being generated from that. In the written response, I almost sense there's a need to present at least the organisation's philosophy on that particular issue. And that collective outcomes across the region, essentially, in my mind, it could be explained as each individual is contributing to the social license that allows that kind of farming activity in our environment. Social license extended on behalf of the community by years. I would have thought a little bit like a Warren Fitness for your car. I don't necessarily see my car going up in value because I've got a Warren Fitness, and it allows me to keep driving. Get it stopped. Would that written response include some organisational perspective on how we perceive the value is generated for at least the region?
The rationale as to why do we undertake those inspections as part of consent monitoring? Why are there 2? That rationale behind that, absolutely, and I think it would also speak to assurance as well. Consent is a permission to do can't that a ratepayer can't ordinarily do, and the law requires assurance that that is being adhered to, and the reason for that assurance is so that the ratepayers can say that the outcomes that they have set out in terms of the water and land plan, what they've charged you as councillors to do by virtue of being elected, is going to occur at large across the region, as well as within the specific boundary of a consent and the activities, use and development that it allows. Sort of how I think of it.
Yeah, and I guess just when you sign off on consent, you get your last details, and us those that have consents there, and we miss bits, and you go, crikey, did I sign up to that? But you did. So you have all that in front of you when you get your draft consent, and so you agree to when you sign the dotted line. So it kind of is what it is.
And that's part of
the only conditions. The only 2 visits a year. There's only conditions of.
Absolutely. I mean, consent understands to sign on the dotted line, and you accept that. But I think there is discussion, and I think that's probably what we can take away. That it's the how and how we be more efficient, and it's an ongoing process. Not even disagreeing. There's 2. You sign up to consent, and then the challenging game. Well, how are those inspections? Just says inspections, doesn't say costs, and doesn't say how they're inspected, and that's where we need to.
But the number of inspections
work with management.
So there's a number of inspections we shouldn't be challenging because you sign up to that. I'm not saying the cost. I'm not saying the cost is not something, but when you sign up to, you will have 2 inspections. You have signed up to that.
So that's the point I was just going to ask for clarification on. You do actually have 2 inspections in the
You do say that.
Up to 3.
You can have up to 3.
Up to 3 on ground and 1 air receiving. But it is in black and white on your consent. The costs are not there.
No.
But the number, so it is very difficult to say, where's my value when you signed up to, this is what will happen over the 10-year duration.
Right. Well, in regards to that, I need a mover for 4, 5 and 6. Sorry. In regards, sorry.
There's nothing there about saying that we'll respond to the submitters. Is that next when it's approved by the council?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we respond back to say
Subject to
what the
amendments
decision was and
resolved by
how that
council.
worked. Donna's has triggered a memory. I think we actually provided that breakdown to Mr. McCullum last year. Oh, yeah. She just reminded me, like, did we sent that? And I'm like, yes, we actually did. So we can send it to him again.
So just,
What I mean is, there's nothing in these recommendations to say that we will respond to each submitter and explain why we've come to our decision.
just go to council though. So we're council here.
Yeah,
Panel, but
yeah, so
council.
I need to check.
I don't know if we actually need a recommendation, but that's part of the
We-
process.
we-
Yes,
we would
it's part
do
of the
that.
But
process.
we can put one in there if you would like one.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, well, I think we probably should.
To respond.
Otherwise,
You
we're.
just want to amend.
Oh, no, we
Well,
will.
we do.
We do.
We do anyway, but we don't, we do it automatically. but-
Seven.
Okay.
Clarity,
Respond
let's add
to
it, yeah.
submitter with a full report, expressing their concerns,
So it's got to come to council. anyway.
or recommend the council does that.
Yeah. Okay, so we add that number 7, just
So,
respond.
respond to each submitter with a report addressing their concerns.
Yep.
With that.
Response rather than report.
So we've got 4, 5, and 6, and 7. All happy with that?
Yep.
Have a move. Wendell, Morris, seconded, all in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. I'm all for it. Yes. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody.